ay ng at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Welcome to Open for Business. Mapapanood nyo rin ang programang OFB sa Facebook at YouTube. Mag-like at mag-subscribe sa aming social media at Net25 TV. I am Cesar Vallejos. Welcome to Open for Business. Samahan ninyo kaming tuklasin ang iba't ibang pamamaraan kung paano mapapaunlad ang inyong negosyo. Aalamin din natin mula sa mga eksperto ang mga pangunahing trends at mga estratehiya kung paano natin mapapanatili ang inyong negosyo, maliit man o malaki, ay maging laging open for business. Habang bumababa ang bilang ng mga kaso ng COVID-19, lumuluwag na rin ang mga paghihigpit ng gobyerno at maaring magbukas ang mga negosyo sa mas malaking kapasidad. Metro Manila and other parts of the Philippines are under Alert Level 2 until the end of November, allowing the economy to slowly rebuild. Ginagawa ng mga negosyante ang kanilang makakaya upang manatiling positibo. Ngunit nauunawaan din nila na maaring magbago ang sitwasyon sa isang iglap. Ngunit paano ba magagawa ng mga negosyante na gawing matibay ang hinaharap ng kanilang mga negosyo? What innovations are needed for sustainable and resilient business growth? In this episode, we will tackle those questions with our guest, Mr. Ruben Pascual, the Secretary General of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. All these in this episode of Open for Business.
Mga tanong na nakakalito at mga sagot na nakakahilo. Yan ang mga dapat abangan dito sa game show na puno ng kakulitan at siksik sa kasiyahan. Please welcome ang ating matatapang na volunteer firefighters mula sa Quezon City. Ano ang tawag sa matinding takot sa injection? Oh! Feeling disqualified ka na. Dito na sa question na to. Dito na sa round na to. Excited ka eh. Takot nga eh. And this is not a game.
Welcome back to Open for Business. Today we have Mr. Ruben Pascual, the Secretary General of Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who will talk about technological innovations for economic recovery. Una sa lahat, Sir Ruben, I'd like to thank you and the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We were part of the Philippine Business Conference as media partner. Marami po sigurong mga small businesses din ang natuwa dahil sa pagtatagumpay ng Philippine Business Conference dahil maraming mga innovations kayo na na-share. Can you discuss some of the highlights of the Philippine Business Conference, Ruben?
Magandang gabi sa iyo, Cesar, at sa lahat ng tagapanood ng Open for Business. Unang-una, binabati ko kayo sa inyong programa. siguro papunta na kayong 200 episodes, no? So,
Or
alam
more.
ko.
Opo.
So, ito nangyayari lang kung hindi kayo sinusundan ng taong bayan. Maging sa social media at saka sa TV. So, isang magandang karangalan para sa PCCI na makasama ko kayo. Pangalawa, gusto kong magpasalamat sa Net25, sa Eagle Broadcasting Company for partnering with us in the holding of the Philippine Business Conference. Alam mo, Cesar, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, which is the largest business organization in the Philippines with an estimated 35,000 direct and indirect members. We hold the Philippine Business Conference every year, kung saan libo-libong mga kumpanya ang dumadayo dito sa Manila when we hold it, galing sa Mindanao, sa Visayas at sa ibang parte ng Luzon. But this year, dahil sa restrictions ng mobility at saka sa hinaharap nating pandemya, we held it for the first time last week virtually.
At natatandaan ko nga, Ruben, noong in the past years where you gather these businessmen, napakalaki ng mga ballrooms na ino-occupy nito. And what was the record attendance when, pre-pandemic?
Pre-pandemic, siguro mga 3,000.
And these are these are businessmen coming from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao.
Mindanao, no? Kaya nga pag we are having problems in the selection of the venue kasi kailangan malaking ballroom. Pag galing ka ng Mindanao or Visayas at dumating ka, hindi namin napaghandaan yung upuan mo, nagkakatampuhan po. And aside from that, maraming delegation coming from abroad. Dumadating, lalo na, especially from the States. They're very close to the Philippine American Chambers of Commerce.
So are these also Filipino businessmen or PhilAms, or these are investors in the Philippines?
No, these are they are both, no? They do business in the US and they are also the links for investments here sa Pilipinas. So that's the role of the Filipino-American Chambers of Commerce. They promote Philippine products. At the same time, they seek opportunities for themselves. Kung saan meron sa mga negosyo silang nakikita, they will introduce and bring it into the Philippines. So,
Sir Ruben, one of the main or the highlights or the strategies in marketing is really the conduct of conferences. And with the Philippine Business Conference, with the Philippine Chamber, with the PCCI as the voice of Philippine business, it is also your responsibility to gather these huge businesses in one roof. What were your challenges now na with the pandemic, you cannot really put them together in a big hotel or lobby that that you have previously done in the past, and with the pandemic, did you use now this technological innovations? Then how did you go about it?
yeah, the flip side to being unable to hold it physically is that we were able to accommodate more guests and more participants. Kasi pwede ka virtually. We opened this to the public, not only to the businessmen. Maraming nag-abang. And the reason maraming nag-abang dito sa Philippine Business Conference is the way we designed the program. No? Pag Philippine Business Conference, ang pangunahing naming bisita are the top 2 officials of the land.
Normally, and that's the
That's the president who closes the conference, and starting the conference is always the vice president. And this year it was Leni Robredo. No? And then this is the time where we have always a session with the top economic managers. No? Since we are dealing with the business community, all the top managers were there. Unfortunately, galing abroad si Sunny Dominguez, no? Pero we were able to listen to his message as well. No? But Secretary Lopez was there, Secretary De La Peña, and then the acting secretary of DICT, si Bradley De Castro. They were all there to speak on behalf of the economic community.
Yeah, speaking of the economic community, sir, nabanggit niyo na rin ang economic managers. napag-uusapan natin off-cam kanina na parang ang laki na nung target natin, nung GDP natin, yung pre-pandemic at inaasahan natin, lolobo pa sana siya ng more than 7%, I think. So, ngayon po na nandun yung mga economic managers at naglabas din po, di ba, ang Philippine Statistics, yung PSA.
PSA.
Yeah, and I think that's about 7.1%. Ano po yung nakikita ninyo na kalalabasan ng ating GDP? Do you think this will continue for Q4? And do you think what we have achieved in the past can, go back and, be in its normal level pre-pandemic?
Definitely, there is optimism for the economic rebound. No? Napakagandang balita na yung third quarter natin, nag-grow tayo ng 7.1%. Mukhang maganda yung numero, pero we have to remember we came from a very low figure. So 7.1, at least 7.1. Now, siguro ang tanong mo, Cesar, is how do we see the economy moving forward? Will this carry over for the fourth quarter? And will this carry over for 2022? No? Dalawa ang pananaw namin dito. Kami sa aming pag-uusap dito sa Philippine Business Conference, naniniwala kami, siguro ang pinakamagandang naging mensahe sa PBC, sa lahat ng mga sesyon namin, there is optimism from both the government, the private sector, even the CEOs who were present, and then the international participants. No? That was our main message. Kasi for the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we looked at PBC as a confidence-building activity. Alam mo, yung problema sa ekonomiya, importante na ang taong bayan, lalo na ang negosyante, lalo na ang maliliit na negosyante, magkaroon ng tiwala at kumpiyansa sa kakayahan ng bayan para bumangon.
Gaano ba kalaki yung grupo ng small businesses doon sa PCCI?
Ang karamihan ng miyembro namin, we have 125 chapters all over the country. Siguro mga 90-95% are small businesses na miyembro ng mga chapters namin. Sa direct members ng PCCI, 30% of those are big corporations and 70 are small and medium. Meron maliliit pa rin nakasama doon. Pero the bulk of the membership are in the indirect members that we represent also. Ito yung mga membro ng chapters namin from Batanes down to Zamboanga. Ganun po karami yung You will be surprised na hanggang sa Marawi, may chapter po ang PCCI.
Interesting nga, Ruben, because yung sinasabi ni Secretary Lopez, talagang during the pandemic, marami din ng mga nagsara ng mga small businesses. Ang gusto kong malaman ngayon is, paano na ibabalik ng PCCI yung kumpiyansa ng mga maliliit na negosyo? Are there projects where they're given additional trainings, sourcing of funds? What is the PCCI doing to, as you said, dapat ang Philippine Business Conference nagpapaboost ng kanilang moral para mas lalo silang ganahan. Kung yung ibang nahihirapan na, pwede nilang sabihin na parang, everybody, went through this hardship and together we can make it right or we can make it better this coming year. Ano yung ginagawa po ng PCCI to ensure that somehow they are, given this very concrete steps, to move forward?
Yeah. Siguro, simulan ko yung paliwanag niyan para tingnan natin ano talaga nangyari mula last year. No? Pag tinignan natin ang mga numero, kagitla-gitla at maawa ka sa negosyo. Mga nagsarang negosyo sa numero ng DTI, mga 200,000.
Laki.
Ganong karami. At karamihan nga maliliit. Hindi pa namin siguro na ibibilang yung mismong mga sari-sari store. At saka yung mga vendors.
Kumbaga mga informal.
Yung mga informal, hindi pa natin nakita. Tapos, dun sa mga empleyado, sa mga nagsarang mga korporasyon at saka mga factory, to 4 million po ang estimate ng Department of Labor and Employment.
Na nawalan ng trabaho.
Nawalan ng trabaho. temporarily or permanently. So ito yung pinakamalaking challenge ng PCCI. Lahat sila nawalan ng trabaho at mayroon trabaho pa rin. Nakatingin sa PCCI, ano bang gagawin niyo? Ang pinakamalaking serbisyo na gagawa ng organisasyon namin ay ipaglaban ng mga pulisiya na kailangan para sa immediate na pagbangon ng mga negosyo. Halimbawa, dito all throughout until this year, no, nilalabanan namin yung lockdown. Hindi po kami talagang naniniwala, Cesar, sa lockdown. Yung malawakan lockdown, ang tingin namin mas malaki ang naging napinsala sa ating bayan kaysa naging benepisyo. No? Dapat noong pa natin sinimula, we only started the granular lockdowns about 2 months ago.
Pero yun nga po, before we go into that, gaano ba may estimate kayo magkano yung nawala doon sa lockdown? Because I'm reading this, kunyari, meron sinabi si Neda noon na yung 2-week ECQ cost the economy at least 210 billion pesos. So, with all the lockdowns po ba, na-compute nyo ba? Do you have estimates on how much you have lost during that period?
Siguro sa estimate ni Secretary Chua ng NEDA, trillion po ang binibilang doon sa losses. In fact, mayroon report ng NEDA na parang nalungkot kami. Kasi ayaw namin tanggapin ito. Kasi ang balita niya, para makabalik tayo sa pre-pandemic, kakailanganin natin ng 10 taon pa. So sabi namin, hindi. I mean, mas magaling tayo dyan. Although, pag nakita...
So, i-clarify ko lang po yon. Parang sa study ni Secretary Chua, kailangan ng 10 years pa for us to go back to pre-pandemic levels.
So sabi namin, sandali lang, anong basehan ng pag-aanon? Kasi totoong delayed po tayo. In fact, pag tiningnan mo yung ibang bansa, balik na sa pre-pandemic Yung mga ilan sa ASEAN natin.
Example ng bansa.
Siguro, Malaysia, Indonesia, balik na sila. And then, most of them will be recovering to pre-pandemic before the end of the year, which is by next month. Ang Pilipinas, sa projection ng Bloomberg, ng World Bank, saka ng iba pa, talagang next year pa, towards the end of this year. So, parang may katotohanan yung projection ng NEDA. No? Pero kami, sa PCCI, we remain optimistic that we can really do something. Alam mo, yung pagdadaos namin ng Philippine Business Conference, our main aim is really to give hope to the Filipino businessmen and the general public for that matter. That we are better than that as long as we can get our acts together, that's government and the private sector, we can prosper immediately, faster than what is being projected.
Pero Ruben, balikan ko lang yung sinabi mo na ang PCCI, ang stand nyo, tutol kayo sa lockdown. Saan kayo hindi tututol? Kasi di ba lagi naman nung una pa sinasabi na kung hindi ka magla-lockdown, magkakahawaan, lalong lalala. So parang, di ba yun yung other governments naman also, they say it's a choice between economy and the health and safety of your people. So what would you choose? So in your case, syempre, understandable because you're with the PCCI. You are the voice of Philippine business. But if you are against lockdown, what are you after? Or what do you represent?
We are against, Cesar, of the massive lockdowns.
Okay.
Yung when large swaths of the country, of the economy are closed down. Bawal gumalaw, bawal pumunta dito, di ba? You cannot move without those. Sa amin namin, kanina nabanggit ko sa na isang effective na ginawa when we did the granular lockdowns, tingnan mo, mas mababa. Kailangan asintado Hindi yung tira ng tira lang, sasaran. Pero recently, I think naging asintado yung pamahalaan.
And this started, sabi mo, 2 months ago lang.
2 months ago. No, kung kailan nila in-introduce yung mga alert levels. Mas asintado na.
Correct.
Kasi when there is a case, katulad ngayon, may dahilan tayo na maging excited. Kasi yesterday, I think 890 na lang ang nationwide cases natin.
Nakakatawang balita ngayon.
Less than 1,000. Pero kahit maliit yan, pag hindi mag-ayos yung sistema ng contact tracing, etc. Kailangan kasi pag may pumutok sa barangay nito, kailangan mabilis yung gobyerno, masaran mo na yun. Huwag mo sasaran yung buong Quezon City. Huwag mo sasaran yung buong barangay. Saran mo yung purok na yon na meron. Diba? If that's a village, saran mo yan. Kasi yan ang ginawa ng atin ASEAN neighbors. Taiwan, for instance. Vietnam, for instance. Ang konti-konti na mga cases. Pare-pareho naman tayong malapit sa China na naging source of the virus. Bakit sila nakapagan? Because they were very strict and they were very efficient in targeting the control areas.
So, related din po yun sa sinasabi niyong mababang cases. Of course, yung the rate and our program in terms of vaccination. What is your stand on this on vaccination? Because ngayon yata po, hanggang ngayon, marami pa rin yung ayaw magpabakuna. Either natatakot or ano ba yung based doon sa... Kaya nga halos may mga statements po ngayon ang government na, halimbawa kahapon or kanina, parang sabi na pag hindi ka bakunado, huwag ka munang pumasok sa dining areas na ganito. So, and I'm sure baka other businesses would also react on that because that's additional customer for me. So what's your stand on those?
So kami as a PCCI, we have supported vigorously the massive vaccination plans. In fact, yung mga miyembro namin, Architect Palafox, we contributed the designs for vaccination centers, etc. We offered to buy directly for the vaccination, supportado namin. What we are against is the discrimination against the vaccinated. Alam mo, Cesar,
discrimination against the vaccinated or the unvaccinated?
The unvaccinated.
Okay, sige.
Hindi mo pwedeng parusahan ito. Kunyari sa probinsya, siguro wala pang 40% ang vaccination sa provinces. Pag babawal mo trabaho, bawal sila pumasok. Madali kaya nga naiinis kami pag may nagsasalita na, hindi pwedeng nang pumasok, hindi pwedeng magtrabaho yung hindi bakunado. Kung siguro 90% na ng bansa, ganun ang sitwasyon, gawin natin yan. Pero the fact is, nahuli naman tayo talaga sa pag-supply ng vaccines. Tapos gusto mong parusahan yung hanggang ngayon nag-iisip pa. So, I think a key principle that we need to respect is the management prerogative. Maiintindihan ko yung mga kumpanya, lalo na yung may-ari ng mga eateries, mga restaurant, na lahat ng empleyado nila dapat bakunado because they are exposing it to customers. Pagkain ito, walang mask, dapat lang ma-impose yan. Pero sabihin na lahat ng empleyado sa factory, kailangan hindi. There are other ways to do it. Katulad ko, bago ako pumasok dito, in-antigen test ako.
Yes, kaya wala kaming mask ngayon kasi naka-RT-PCR kami at saka naka-antigen kami.
Kasi I do my RT-PCR actually every 2 weeks.
Yes.
Plus antigen test whenever there are support.
So ano ang
maraming ibang paraan. Sa madaling salita, ang paraan ay hindi lang pagbawal sila, yung mga hindi bakunado. Gusto ko pa rin respetuhin mga choices nila. Pero kailangan trabahuin natin. Like sa akin, hindi ko papapasukin sa opisina ang hindi vaccine. May empleyado pa rin ako, I think, isa na lang out of the 60 plus na hindi bakunado.
Ano daw po ang dahilan?
Hanggang ngayon, may duda pa siya whether it's the right decision or not. Sabi ko, kayo ka pa magde-decision. Diba? So, I will limit that person's activities. No? He cannot join us physically on other things. Because I don't want... It is not only because she is not vaccinated, but because she is at risk because she is not as vaccinated.
That's right.
It is not mahahawa kami na bakunado, pero she is at bigger risk when there are a lot of people. Yun yung, I think, maintindihan.
Yes.
Kaya tayo nag-iingat para sa kanila dahil they are at bigger risk.
Yes.
Hindi dahil sila ang makakahawa sa atin.
So, if that is your position, Ruben, do you think, what do you think are the ways for the government to do it? So, is it also, should it be treated also like the way granular lockdowns are conducted? Diba? So, kung sakali, pag sinabi mo ngayon na, pag sa may sinabi ka kanina na sa NCR tsaka sa probinsya magkaiba. So check ngayon. So bawat probinsya halimbawa ilang percent yung nabakunahan na diyan o doon kayo mag-adapt ng specific policy ninyo to apply on that rule on the unvaccinated. Ganun ba?
Ang susi sa vaccination is to really make the vaccination more accessible to everyone. It is the accessibility. Halimbawa, nung una kong vaccination in March dito sa Quezon City, 5 oras po. Sa second vaccination ko in May, sa second dose ko, 3.5 hours po.
Bigay ng konti.
So, alam mo, maraming mga pumila na gano'n, ang tagal muna bago bumalik kasi nahirapan. I'm also a senior citizen, but I experienced that. Pero this is not the situation anymore, Sisay. Mas magaang na sa iba na mas mabilis. Ang hinihintay ko ngayon, government is talking about the booster shots.
Yes.
No? Ako, qualified na ako kasi 6 months ago na eh. But I've been asking around, nobody can tell me where I can get my booster shot. So kung gusto natin palawakin pa, di ba? People, you really want the LGUs going out of their way to inform their constituents. Dito ho kayo pwede kayo senior citizen, dito kayo magpunta. Kayo may mga anak na 12 to 17. Ito po. Kailangan, the role of communications here is very critical. Also, by programs like you, it is very critical kung paano i-extend itong...
Yeah. So, Ruben, pinag-uusapan natin, sabi mo nga, napakalaki ng percentage ng mga small businesses dun sa organization, sa PCCI. And we recognize PCCI as, the voice of Philippine business. Ngayon, nakikita naman din po natin na kung saan talaga dapat ma-improve pa anong areas ng ating ekonomiya, ng pamamalakad ng gobyerno. At isa po ito sa mga naging highlights dun sa Philippine Business Conference, diba? Napakaraming problema ng bansa ngayon. Hindi naman ngayon lang, diba? Sa ibang mga pero sa ibang mga administrasyon din. At may kanya-kanyang prioridad ang bawat mga kandidato. And you mentioned earlier off camera, there were already all the presidentiables except for one talked about their platforms. Pero kayo po, Ruben, bilang andun kayo at naramdaman nyo yung sentimiento ng mga maliliit na negosyante, ano ba yung unang-unang dapat talagang tugunan? Anybody, who sits there, who wins the election by next year, what is it that the small businesses are, clamoring for na parang ito muna ang mabigyan nyo ng prioridad bago yung iba?
Ang pinakamahalaga para sa akin at para sa negosyo, whether it is for business, for education, or for health, the most important change that I'd like to see for the next administration is internet connectivity.
Yes.
Okay. Alam mo, hinahangaan ko ang DICT. Kasi pag sinasabing wala yung internet, sinisisi siyang DICT. Pero kailangan malaman natin na yung Kongreso, nung humihingi ng budget para tapusin nila yung national broadband, 18 billion ang kailangan. Ang binigay lang ng Kongreso, 900 million.
So, ang laking discrepancy nun.
Ang daming mga programa ng gobyerno, bilyon-bilyon. Pero pagdating sa pagkabit ng internet natin, ganun lang. So, ginawa pa rin ng DICT ang pamamaraan para mapalawak, no? They have about 14,000 free Wi-Fi sites, no? Na ipamigay. Ngayon, tinutuloy. Tapos kung saan yung national broadband, tinutulak pa rin kung ano pang available na pera. Kaya napakalungkot. Lagi natin pinag-uusapan doon sa pandemya that we will solve internet connectivity. Pero pagdating doon sa House of Representatives at Senado, wala namang ginawa. Doon ako malungkot. Ako, pagkausap ko yung lahat ng senador, sabi ko, you better put your money where your mouth is, di ba? Gusto mo connectivity, bigyan mo na pondo. No? So, yun.
Pero naipasa na yung pondo for next year, di ba? Ganun pa rin ba? O mas malaki na?
Mas malaki ng konti.
So, compared to the 18 billion proposed plan?
Proposed dapat tapos yun. Kasi ang lahat ng bansa, for instance, halimbawa, South Korea, Ang naglatag ng mga kable all over the country ay ang gobyerno. Hindi nila inasa sa Smart, sa Globe, etc. Tumulong na lang yung private. Pero nag-invest ang gobyerno. Connectivity ito eh. Isang programa, for instance, na tinulak ng PCCI together with the ICT. Ito yung minungkahi namin na hindi na kailangan dumaan sa congressional franchise. Yung paggamit ng satellite. Alam mo, isang katutaking satellite na pwedeng gamitin. Eh, biro mo, hihingi ka pa ng prangkisa, hindi na, pwede mo nang gamitin. And pinas ni PCCI po ang tumulong nito, EO 127, pinirmahan po ni Presidente Duterte. Anong ibig sabihin nitong yung wala ng franchise, hindi ka na kumuha ng franchise para sa paggamit ng satellite? Pag ako nasa Siquijor o sa ibang far-flung area, pwede akong gumamit ng satellite anytime. Siguro pag-uusapan ng presyo. So, ang PCCI at DICT, meron kaming proof of concept. May sisimulan namin sa 6 na lugar lang, magkakaroon ng internet coverage yung maraming lugar.
Through satellite.
Through satellite. Kasi wala pa nga mga kable.
Yeah, but you're saying now na dadaan pa sa congressional...
Hindi na, wala na.
So, okay na yun.
Okay na yan.
So, that's the best thing that, you know...
Para mapabilis.
Mapabilis.
No? Siyempre, pinakamaganda pa rin nandun sa yung cable, fiber cables all over the country. Ito nga yung sinasabi namin sa national broadband. Pero kung ganito kabagal, ayaw bigyan ng pera, yung satellite muna pwede natin magamit.
What is ironic, Ruben, is... Siyempre, during the lockdowns and during the pandemic, March of 2020, I think, you know, that's where everybody went online.
That's true.
So,
tapos ayaw natin mag-invest doon, di ba?
so, napilitan ngayon ang mga tao, kahit ngayon sa education ngayon, di ba? Online education. That's another topic and that's another, you know, something that's very challenging not only for our students but, you know, all households. So, ano po yung nakikita nyo pagdating doon sa, you know, of course, you mentioned about internet yung connectivity and there's a lot of infrastructure that's really you know, has to be, you know, have to be addressed
marami
there.
tayong naayos yung administrasyon sa infrastructure, may mga tulay, mga daan, marami. Mga airport, mga seaports, no? Napakaganda yung mga nagawa dyan. Pero talagang the communications infrastructure is the one that is sorely missing. Ito isa pang area na inaasahan ng PCCI na kung saan tayo dapat mag-focus, ito yung mga susunod nating mga pinuno ng bansa, ay agrikultura.
Yun.
Kasi sa agrikultura, nandito pa rin yung 60% ng bansa natin depends. And then 100% of us depend on agricultural produce para makakain tayo.
Pero ano nga ba ang istorya nito, Ruben? Parang pinag-uusapan natin kanina. Parang you said, you know, that's one of your passions, agribusiness, di ba? And parang you took up, you know, you were, before you went into journalism, you were a student of, you know, nag-aral ka ng ekonomiya. So, ano po yung kahalagahan ba? Parang how is agribusiness? What's the role of agribusiness? Even before, you know, kasi parang sinasabi natin ngayon, kumbaga, may mga nagsasabi din na it was agribusiness or the agricultural sector that really also saved the economy and specifically the livelihood of people, especially those who were in the provinces, lalo na nung naapektuhan yung logistics natin, yung supply chain. Ano bang istorya pagdating sa agrikultura ng
Pilipinas? Alam mo, again, this is a classic case of not putting our money where our mouth is. Kasi pag tinignan mo ang budget, the way to look at it, when you look at the national budget, napakakonti ang share ng agriculture. Napakalungkot. Hindi dapat 2.5 or 3% of the national budget. And then the national police has billions and billions of money here. So, masyadong malaki yung impact para sa atin na hindi talaga suportahan. Now, pag tinignan mo yung modelo ng ibang mga bansa, bago ito lumaki, nari Taiwan, South Korea, even Japan, bago sila tumibay, inayos muna nila yung agrikultura nila. So, mula pa sinasabi namin yan from way back in the 90s. ayusin na natin itong agrikultura. Because ito yung foundation. Dito umaasa ang maraming tao. And then we can move to a level of industrialization that will support the rest of the economic growth. No? So maraming dapat gawin sa agrikultura. Pero ang basic talaga gusto kong makita are the government investments in agriculture. Dito tayo dapat umasa. From basic production ng seeds at lahat. Maraming mga negosyanteng uusbong pa ang negosyo ng maliliit pag nakaayos lahat ito.
Pero saan, speaking of investments, saan nyo nakikita where investments in agriculture should go to? Is it education? Is it yung mga sinasabi nilang farm-to-market roads? Is it infrastructure? Or is it technology? Kasi di ba parang sabi nga nila, di ba yung nasa atin yung International Rice Research Institute, mga ganon. And the other, parang sabi nga nila, before tayo yung mga number 1 na matatalino mga technopreneurs na pagdating doon sa agrikultura. But eventually, some went to the different countries and helping them. So, saan dapat mag-invest? Both private po, sir, both the government and the private sector in
It is in the adoption of technology.
Yun.
Because technology is available abroad and locally. Ang dami nating investors. Pero hindi natin nagagamit. Siguro kailangan tutukan yung incentives at saka yung assistance para mag-adapt. Ang ordinary farmer, from the ordinary farmer to the agribusinessman, ang dami nating maaring matutunan. Alam mo, may isang maliit na kwentong gusto kong i-share. Ang bayan ng Israel, isa yan sa tumutulong sa Pilipinas. Alam niyo naman, panahon ng gera, tumulong ang Pilipinas sa kanila.
Sa kanila, correct.
Okay. So tuloy-tuloy yung tulong nila. Over the past 5 years, mga 5,000-6,000 na Pilipino na ang pinaaral ng Israel. Nag-aral 1 to 2 years. Alam mo kung nasaan sila? Nandun, sales lady sa SM. Tapos dito, kwento ko lang yung ambassador ng Israel. Nagtitinda ng gulay sa Tarlac. So ngayon, may project kami, PCCI at yung embassy. Lilikumin namin lahat. May mga 400 na pabalik this year. Patatawag namin yan. So tutulong ang PCCI.
Tama.
Para itong mga eksperto, isakalat namin ito, sasabihin natin sa mga kumpanya, hoy, may mga horticultural experts dito, galing ng Israel, gamitin nyo, ito yung available. So, this is one of the services that PCCI can do.
Pero gusto kong balikan yung kwento nyo yan, anong nangyari? Walang opportunity? Kahit na natuto sila abroad kasi sinasabi nyo ang Israel, yung walang tubig, kaya nilang gawa ng
walang
tubig, walang lupa, kaya nilang magkaroon ng
gumawa ng pagkain.
So, what went wrong?
Several things. Talagang hindi nasalo, no? Hindi nasalo, kaya nga sa amin, one thing na missing is paano saluin pagdating sa jobs. We believe PCCI will be able to help with its huge network of businessmen. I think it will be very important, our role, to promote them. No? Alamin namin, sa dami ng kumpanya, ibibida namin sila. So, job placements will be critical. Pangalawa, talagang lang hindi handa ang maraming mga kumpanya. Para either hindi sila handa o hindi lang nila alam yung nangyayari. So, again, should the Department of Agriculture do something to I think they should. Dapat pagbalik pa lang, merong
may plano no?
May re-entry, may re-entry plans.
Yes.
Okay, nandito kayo. So parang these are important OFWs. These are trained OFWs.
Exactly.
So a service that can help promote them. Anyone who is returning to the Philippines, especially who was just returned, we can create that service. Maybe Department of Agriculture, Department and Labor, and the private sector. Tulungan kami para hindi masayang yung bagong kaalaman.
Tama. Now, Ruben, you mentioned, with all the leaders participating, giving their inputs at the Philippine Business Conference, you mentioned already, some of the platforms that you wanted to see in the prosper in the next administration, and that's number one. You said about internet connectivity, agriculture and agribusiness development. Meron pa bang nakikita ka na parang dapat pagtuunan na sinabi nila? Maaaring na mabanggit na ng limang nandoon. But you as Secretary General of the PCCI, what is maybe the third platform where you should see where should the next administration focus on?
So ito yung mga common na napag-usapan natin. 5 sa 6 na mga presidential ay dumalo doon sa presidential forum na which we hosted. No? Ang mga common na naging plataforma ay infrastruktura,
Yes.
di ba? Specific internet connectivity, usap agrikultura at lahat. Pero yung isang common din sa kanilang lahat is paano nila i-handle yung, kunyari, ang pandemya nangyari ngayon. Di ba? Paano gagawin mo? At saka paano mo ipapatuloy, etc. ngayon. Ano yung programa? So may mga iba talaga mga presidente na talagang matutuwa ka na very detailed yung programa nila on recovering the economy. Hindi broadside comments. It's really
general brushstrokes.
it's a really planned.
Concrete plans.
So makikita mo kasi this is where we want to judge our next president from what you can really deliver. Diba? Diba? Alam to what extent mo na pinaghandaan nito kung ano. So yung background nila in the past and performance is going to be very critical for people's choices. Hindi lang dahil na sikat or etc. So ginawa namin yung presidential forum in a way to help educate people. We are not we do not side with any candidate ang PCCI kasi what we do, we work with every government. Kung sino man nanalo, we immediately work with them and see paano natin matutulungan yung business sector. That is always the political stand of PCCI. No? We don't side and we work immediately with the administration.
Ruben, we highly appreciate you and the PCCI, for its stand in helping small businesses who are lacking time, and we wanted to do, we wanted a longer interview. But what are your predictions? Kasi ang naging tema ng Philippine Business Conference was technological innovations.
Yes.
So, ano po ba yung mga nakikita mong technological predictions, tech innovations na mangyayari sa mga susunod na taon para makalampas tayo? Sabi nga nila, di ba? Hindi pa nga natatapos ang pandemya na to, parang may mga nababalita ulit na ibang mga variants, ibang mga ibang uri ng pandemya. And tama kayo yung readiness ng bansa kung sakaling magkaroon ulit ng pandemyang ganito. So, first, what are those predictions in terms of tech innovations that you see? And ano naman po yung inyong inputs, yung tips sa mga small businesses?
Yes. Ang billing ko sa mga small businesses, not only the small and big, is not to rely on the next elections. Ngayon pa lang, yung tiwala nila, manggaling sa tiwala sa Pilipino na bilang parang isang bansa. Kailangan napaka-importante na yung confidence natin na bilang isang bayan, na that we are a resilient people. Kaya natin bumangon. Marahil mas malaki pang nasira sa atin kung hindi naman talagang matibay din ng Pilipinong ganyan. Huwag tayo umasa. I believe we will recover, and this will be a private sector-led recovery. There is no way. I will not hinge the future of businesses or the Philippines on the next leadership. We will hinge in the very strong private sector, inspired and willing to contribute to the Philippines.
Wow, that's a lovely statement. And my final question is this, Ruben. It's very interesting to know that you have studied journalism. You you studied economics, in your younger years. But my question is, what is now, do you think, is the role of both journalism and economy, in the way we shape public opinion and also in, the future of the country?
I think the first thing that journalism, Philippine journalism will be is to really stand for the truth. There is no other truth in our profession but standing for the truth. Not really being bought or just standing. And second is do not lose hope to continue to inspire. Your program is an example. That you find ways to inspire small businessmen or the Filipino, that we have a chance, that there are opportunities around. And I think those are my two messages, for Philippine journalism and for your station. Fight for the truth every time. And second, keep the hopes of Filipino always alive.
That's Mr. Ruben Pascual, Secretary General of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Open for Business will be back. Stay with us.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
This week, we are going to do more of our Pinoy dishes. Kaya ang ating title ng ating episode ay Pinoy tayo! Pampano, palabok, potsero. You cannot leave it kasi pag iniwan nyo po to ay magiging gaw-gaw. Pangkabit nyo na po ng wallpaper. Kanin na lang, ang kulang.
Welcome back to Open for Business. I am Las Vegas correspondent Randy Bernardino, and here are the trending business news around the world. Samsung to build $17 billion chip plant in Texas. Samsung said it would build a microchip factory in Texas, a $17 billion investment that comes as semiconductor shortages are causing supply chain delays across many industries. The new plant, which is supposed to be operational by the end of 2024, is expected to create more than 2,000 skilled jobs and lay the groundwork for another important chapter for the future, said Ki-nam Kim, CEO of the South Korean Giant's electronics division. The chips manufactured on the site will have applications in mobile technologies, 5G, or even artificial intelligence, the group said. The plant will be built in the town of Taylor near the capital, Austin. New Zealand lifts interest rates for second straight month. New Zealand's central bank lifted its base interest rate for the second straight month, foreshadowing more hikes as it strives to contain rising inflation. The Reserve Bank of New Zealand lifted its base interest rate 0.25 percentage points to 0.75%, following a similar rise in October that ended an 18-month rate freeze. The move was widely expected, and economists predict the cost of borrowing could reach 1.5% by mid-2022. Inflation has spiked as the world economy recovers from a pandemic-induced slowdown, reaching 4.9% in the year to September, far in excess of the bank's 1 to 3.0% target. Italy hits Amazon and Apple with €200 million antitrust fine. Italy's competition watchdog imposed fines totaling €200 million, or $225 million on Amazon and Apple. It ordered Apple to pay €134.5 million and Amazon $68.7 million for infringing EU laws through restrictions which penalize sellers of Apple and Beats products. The Italian watchdog said a 2018 deal between the two US companies had barred official and unofficial resellers of Apple and Beats products from using Amazon.it, allowing the sale of those products in that marketplace only to Amazon and to selected parties in a discriminatory manner. The aim had been to restrict the number of retailers and limit cross-border sales, it said. The agreement spelled bad news for consumers because at least 70% of electronics goods bought in Italy were purchased on Amazon, it added. And now on to our job hunting tip. Every week, we will provide you with tips for first-time job seekers, for those wanting to advance in their careers, or even those wanting to start fresh and change professions. Today's tip: succeed in your current job. If you are currently employed and looking for a better or different career, continue to perform your current job with positivity and commitment. Maintain good relationships with your coworkers and managers as long as you're working with them. Your professional attitude and efforts can result in job references or opportunities in the future. That is today's job hunting tip. Now on to our millennial news with correspondent Jasmine Agustin.
Wealth gives people a sense of security, and we believe that the goal of the rich is to stay rich, get richer, and enjoy capital. With that, you can make progress in the right direction if you have money. On today's Open for Business, we will talk about the goals of wealth in our day-to-day survival and growth. Here are 5 objectives of wealth in our lives. First is financial freedom from constraints. The purpose of wealth is to free the individual from money problems, and in order to achieve financial freedom, you should spend less than you earn and build a pool of savings while limiting borrowings. Second is be progressive for the future. You effectively put money to the future. Your ideas, when combined with your money and the labor of others, may genuinely usher in a new era for everyone. The fuel that pulls you forward is wealth. Third is poverty protection. Money can't buy happiness, but it can help you get rid of a lot of reasons of sadness. Wealth protects you from financial disasters and gives you a sense of security. Fourth is preservation leaves a legacy. Wealth serves to give us all a chance to save everything, especially ourselves. Keep in mind that if you want to leave a legacy, you should save what needs to be saved and get rid of what doesn't. Lastly is emotional comfort as a source of pleasure. The pleasurable memories you were able to accumulate are the most treasured items you have from your history. Wealth are there to help people live better lives, not the other way around. Make your money, achieve your objectives, but don't forget to put it to good use. What better purpose could wealth serve than to propel humanity as we know it? Consider your wealth as an advancement fuel and put it to work at whichever stage of development you are in. Para sa Open for Business, ako po si Jasmine Agustin.
Let's just be happy. Don't go anywhere else unless you're with me. Hello, I'm Risa Tanes, singer-songwriter. Please catch me on Letters and Music on air and online this coming Sunday, December 5, 1 to 2 p.m. only here in Net 25. See ya!
Sa ating pong lipunan, hindi na mawawala ang mga samot-saring problema. Kaya tuloy lamang pong pag-aksyon, paghahanap ng solusyon. Lalo na ngayon, may maaasahan ka ng re-responde. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, mata ng mamamayan.
Open for Business is back, and our term of the week is from Investopedia. Our term of the week is blockchain. A blockchain is a distributed database that is shared among the nodes of a computer network. As a database, a blockchain stores information electronically in digital format. Blockchains are best known for their crucial role in cryptocurrency systems, such as Bitcoin, for maintaining a secure and decentralized record of transactions. The innovation with a blockchain is that it guarantees the fidelity and security of a record of data and generates trust without the need for a trusted third party. Upang muling itayo ang ating ekonomiya, it must be a collective effort with business leaders, policymakers, and development partners. We should promote a culture of innovation and pioneering technologies among the youth and business enterprise, especially for MSMEs. Gamit ang mga wastong patakaran at programa, maaari tayong bumuo ng isang matibay na pundasyon para sa mabuting hinaharap. And with that, our quote of the week is from Microsoft founder, Mr. Bill Gates. He said, "Technology is just a tool in terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them. The teacher is the most important." Maraming salamat sa inyong panonood ng Open for Business. Thank you to our guest, Mr. Ruben Pascual, and our correspondents, Randy Bernardino and Jasmine Agustin. Samahan ninyo kaming muli sa Open for Business sa susunod na linggo. Learn more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines, keeping you informed and open for business. Be ahead of the curve from vision to action. Panoorin din ang programang OFB sa Facebook at YouTube. Mag-like at mag-subscribe sa aming social media at Net25 TV. Para sa Open for Business, ako po si Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times.